What did you find in an abandoned school that made you run without looking back? A class register. All the students' names were ours. But the year said 1979, and none of us were born yet. We were 17. It was the summer before graduation, and we had just survived our final exams. Not passed them, survived them. You could tell by the way we were all acting, like escapees from some long-term sentence. There was a kind of energy in the air, the feeling that everything was about to change. And we needed one last story to bind us together before the world scattered us like dandelion seeds. There were 6 of us, me, Jared, Tony, Delaney, Marcus, Steph, and Gray. All from Willow Creek High, a school not particularly known for its brilliance, but the kind that sticks to your bones because you grew up walking its halls. Steph had the idea. She always had the ideas. And this one started like they all did, with a whisper in the lunchroom that turned into a rumor by gym class and was fully grown into a dare by the time we were loitering around the track field that afternoon. You guys know about the old Winslow School, right? Tony rolled his eyes. Oh God, not another one of your haunted place hunts. We're not 12. No, Steph insisted, brushing her bangs from her eyes. This one's real. My brother and his friends went there when they were seniors. Said there's still books on the desks. Like they just left. Bullshit, said Marcus, but he sounded curious already. Delaney, who barely spoke, just shrugged. Where is it? Steph smiled. That's the thing. You won't find it on a map. Gray laughed. Perfect. So that Friday, after the graduation rehearsal, we piled into Marcus's beat-up Dodge Caravan with backpacks full of flashlights, energy drinks, and a ridiculous number of Clif Bars. No one really asked how Steph knew the way. She just did. It was like that with her. She carried secrets the way some girls carried lip gloss and gum. Winslow was about an hour out, deeper into the woods than we were used to going. The GPS gave up at some point, and the road turned from gravel to nothing at all. We parked on the side of a dirt path, then hiked another 20 minutes, stepping over moss-covered logs and past forgotten barbed wire fences until we found it. It looked like any old building from the outside, 2 stories, half-sunken roof, windows like broken teeth. But the second we stepped inside, something changed. The air was wrong, not cold, just still. Like the air in an old closet that hadn't been opened in years. You could smell the dust, the rot, and something faintly sweet, like pencil shavings in old books. The floors creaked, the kind of creaking that echoed through your bones. But it held our weight. There were desks, chairs, blackboards with half-erased chalk writing, a bulletin board with faded flyers from what looked like the late 70s. A calendar with the year 1979 still hanging above the teacher's desk in room 104. This is unreal, Tony muttered, running his fingers across a line of dusty books stacked near the window. I told you, Steph whispered. We split up, not far, just different classrooms. Everyone poking around, taking pictures on their phones, filming stupid TikToks pretending to be ghost hunters. Delaney found a stack of report cards in one room. Names we didn't recognize, average grades, teachers who never taught at Willow Creek. Gray found a locker that still had a coat inside. I stayed near the front, walking the hallway with its yellowed walls and cracked tiles, until I reached the main office. That's where I found the register. It was sitting on the counter, under a thick layer of dust, like someone had left it there for us on purpose. The cover said Class Roster Fall Term 1979. I don't know why I opened it. But I did. The first page was blank. So was the second. But on the third, my name, Jared Stokes. Right under it, Tony Hughes, Delaney Price, Marcus Ellison, Stephanie Hall, Grayson Wyatt. I remember my throat went dry. I flipped to the next page. It wasn't just the names. There were grades, attendance notes, comments in the margins like talks too much during science and struggles with algebra but enthusiastic in group work. I closed the book, sat down, opened it again. The names were still there. Same handwriting, same year. We weren't born in 1979. The others came in when I called. No one spoke for a minute. Just stared. Steph touched the page like it might disappear. Marcus tried to laugh it off, said it was a prank. But no one had been here in decades. The doors were chained from the inside. The dust, the rot, nothing had moved. We weren't even sure the building would stay standing through the night. Then Gray pointed at something scrawled on the back of the final page. Just one line, written in shaky, faint pencil. You came back. Delaney backed away. Nope, I'm out. We left. No one said much on the hike back. Not even Steph. But the weird part? It didn't end there. I went back the next day. Alone. I don't know why, I think I had to know if it was really there. If it was all just a weird joke that had gotten out of hand. I didn't tell anyone I was going. But when I got there, the school was gone. No building, no debris, just forest, like it had never been there at all. I stood in the same spot, just off the old dirt path, phone in hand, GPS flickering between no signal and a mocking little blue dot that drifted in and out of nowhere. The trees were the same. The smell, the faint remnants of a rusted fence we'd stepped over the night before. But the school, the building, the doorway, the glass shards and chalk dust, none of it remained. It was like it had folded in on itself in the night. I walked in circles. I retraced our steps. I looked for footprints, for broken branches, for anything that would tell me we had been here. But there was nothing, not even the tire tracks from Marcus's van. Only silence, only woods. When I finally got back home, I didn't tell the others. I sat on my bed and stared at my phone for a long time. I had pictures, videos, too, from that night. But when I opened my gallery, they were gone. Every single photo, every recording, gone. No deleted folder, no error message. Just like the school, like it had never been there. Only one thing remained, a blurry screenshot I didn't remember taking. It was of the register, slightly out of focus, but you could still make out some of the names. Mine, Steph's, Marcus's, and something else. Another name had been added at the bottom. A name I didn't recognize. Eleanor Stray. I googled it. Nothing. Not in our school, not in the district. No student records, no social media, not even a person with that name nearby. But something about it chilled me. Like I had heard it before. Not in conversation, but in the back of my head. In dreams. Or nightmares. 3 days passed before I broke down and called Steph. She didn't answer. I tried the others. Marcus picked up on the third ring, and he sounded like he hadn't slept in days. Dude, he said, you went back, didn't you? Yeah. A long pause. I've been dreaming about that place, he said. Every night. Except it's not empty in my dreams. He didn't elaborate, and I didn't ask. I didn't want to know. But something told me we weren't done with Winslow, even if Winslow was done with us. The real shift happened the following week. Tony went missing. We thought he was just being Tony, off on a camping trip, maybe ignoring his phone, but when his mom called me crying, I knew it was serious. She said he told her he was going out to clear his head. Left in the middle of the night. No note, no pack, no phone. His car was still in the driveway. But his shoes were gone. A week after that, Steph sent me a photo. No context, no message. Just the image. It was a page torn from the register. Our register. The names were all scratched out. Except one. Eleanor Stray. Underneath her name, someone had scribbled in thick red ink, "You don't remember yet." I stared at that photo for hours. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I asked Steph where she got it, but she didn't reply. I tried to call her. Nothing. So I drove to her house. Her parents said she hadn't been home in 2 days. Said she'd been talking in her sleep. Saying names. Mine, Marcus's, and that one again, Eleanor. They thought she was having a breakdown. Maybe from stress. Maybe something deeper. But I knew better. We were part of something. Something old. Something that didn't want to be remembered, but couldn't be forgotten. Either. The next night, I dreamt of the school. It was intact again. But different. Cleaner. Newer. Full of noise, children laughing, lockers slamming, the buzz of fluorescent lights. I was walking down the hall, but I was young again. Maybe 9. Wearing clothes I didn't own. My body smaller, lighter. I passed a mirror and didn't recognize the face. Then I saw her. Eleanor. She stood at the end of the hallway, her head tilted, long dark hair covering half her face. She didn't move, just watched me, and whispered something I couldn't hear. I woke up with blood on my pillow. My nose had bled during the night. My ears rang for hours. The others were all having dreams too. Marcus said he saw his own handwriting in old textbooks. Delaney started having night terrors. Gray stopped responding to messages completely. His sister later told me he'd been admitted to a facility upstate. Something wanted us to remember. But whatever we were supposed to remember, it wasn't ours. It was a memory that didn't belong to us. A life we never lived. Or maybe we did. That's when I started digging into Winslow itself. There were no public records of the school. Not on the county site. Not in archives. I drove to the town hall, asked around, even met with an old librarian who swore she'd never heard of any such place. But when I described it, her face paled. "You said it was made of red brick?" She asked quietly. "Yeah, 2 floors? Bell tower?" "Yes." She nodded slowly. "There was a school like that. But it burned down in 1978. Not 1979? "No," she said firmly. "Autumn, 1978. Arson, they said. Children died. No one ever rebuilt. Parents moved away. Whole area was condemned." I stared at her. "Do you remember the name of the school?" She didn't answer. Just wrote something on a slip of paper and handed it to me. Eleanor Stray Memorial School. I drove home in silence. Later that night, I checked the screenshot again. The one I still had. I zoomed in, just to torture myself. But now, there was something new in the corner. Faint, barely visible in the blur. A reflection. Of me. Standing behind me. But, it wasn't me now. It was me as a child. Wearing a school uniform I never owned. Smiling. But the smile didn't look right. And I swear, he winked. I tried to rationalize it. I told myself it was a trick of the pixels, an artifact, a smudge in the image. But deep down, I knew better. You don't forget your own face, even when it's younger. Especially when it's wrong. The kind of wrong that doesn't scream or stab. The quiet kind. The subtle, parasitic wrongness that seeps into the edges of memory like water under wallpaper. I didn't sleep that night. I barely moved. I just kept staring at that reflection, trying to time travel through the pixels, trying to remember something that, by all logic, I couldn't have lived through. At some point, I emailed the image to myself. Sent it to an old friend who was now working in digital forensics. Told him it was for a project, some creative writing thing. I didn't want to scare him. Or worse, sound insane. He replied the next day. "Jared, I ran it through several programs. It's not a composite, it's not AI, and it doesn't match your current facial geometry. But it is you, or at least someone genetically identical to you, around age 9-10, I'd guess." "You sure this is fictional?" I didn't respond. What was I supposed to say? Later that week, Steph came back. She showed up at my door like it was a normal afternoon. But her eyes, man, her eyes looked hollow. Like someone had turned off the lights behind them. She was carrying a notebook. One of those cheap spiral ones from Walmart. It was full, cover to cover. Names, dates, drawings of hallways, floor plans of the school. I didn't ask her to explain. She sat down on my living room floor, cross-legged like a kid in kindergarten, and started flipping through it. "They called it a continuity fold," she whispered. I didn't understand. She looked up at me, blinking like it hurt. Some of the students, they were enrolled twice. Once in 1979, and again later. But they weren't held back. They were reset. My mouth went dry. "You think we were?" "I know we were," she said. "And it's not just us. It's generational, cyclical, like echoes in the same building. Different years, same souls." She showed me a page. A photo was taped to it. Black and white, yellowing. A group of kids standing in front of the school, smiling, hands on knees, the way school photo lines always are. And there, in the back row, me, and Tony, and Steph, and Delaney, and Marcus, and Gray, all of us, aged maybe 10, wearing clothes from the late 70s. I leaned closer. "This isn't real." "It is. But that can't be us." She pointed to the bottom corner, where a teacher was crouching beside the group. A woman with stern eyes, pinched lips, and a faint scar under her chin. "That's Eleanor," she said. "Eleanor Stray." I whispered, "She was real?" "She still is." I had to know. I had to dig deeper. I went through old newspapers, library microfiche, obituaries, hours and hours. And finally, I found something. A single obituary, clipped from a regional paper in October 1978. Eleanor Stray, 46, passed unexpectedly in the fire that destroyed Winslow Elementary School. A devoted teacher, she was known for her unorthodox teaching style and belief in spiritual memory retention. She is survived by no known relatives. No mention of students. No mention of arson. Just unexpectedly. I took it to Steph. She never left. She said, "That's why the register keeps changing. That's why we're in it." I asked her what she meant. She pulled out a folded page from the back of the notebook. It was a crude map. The school, the halls, the rooms, and a door marked X at the end of a hallway labeled West Wing. I saw it in a dream, she said. But it wasn't a door. It was more like a frame. Like a mirror without glass. Or maybe a window. But it didn't look out, it looked in. I felt sick. Marcus texted us the next morning. He said he'd found something. Not at Winslow, it was still gone, but in his basement. A trapdoor, hidden behind shelves that had never been moved. He sent photos. Brick walls, old shelves, dirt floor. And the edge of something else. A step. Downward. We went there that night. Me, Steph, Marcus, and Delaney. Gray was gone. His sister said he wasn't talking anymore. Tony was still missing. We didn't speak as we descended the creaky wooden stairs into the dark below Marcus's house. The air smelled like mildew and rust. And something else. Pencil shavings. Dust. Faint sweetness. Like the air in that school. The steps ended in a dirt tunnel, crudely dug, maybe 3 feet wide. It bent sharply after 20 feet, then opened into a small chamber. And there it was. The door. Or the frame, rather. A rectangle made of old wood and iron, standing upright in the middle of the room. It wasn't connected to anything. Freestanding, like it had been placed there long before the house had ever been built. We didn't touch it. We didn't go through. We just stared. In the silence, I swear I could hear breathing. Not from us. From the other side. Slow. Rhythmic. Familiar. Then a sound. Like a school bell. But warped. Slowed down. Ringing underwater. Delaney screamed. We ran. But not before I saw something. In the reflection of the wood, barely visible, Eleanor's face. Smiling. We didn't talk much after that night. I think we were afraid to say anything out loud. Like if we gave it words, it would get stronger. Smarter. Closer. But Steph was slipping. I could see it. She stopped answering texts. Her social media went dark. I'd get voicemails from her, static-filled and broken, with muffled crying and fragments of phrases. She's still teaching, we never left, don't let her ring the bell again. One message ended with her whispering the lessons never stopped. Then, one morning, she was gone too. Her car was found near the edge of Franklin Woods, the same forest where we'd found the school. No signs of struggle, no footprints, just the car, still warm. Inside the glove compartment, another page from the register. But this time, it was completely filled. All the names of our year. Every student we knew. Classmates, jocks, burnouts, band kids, even kids who had moved away before freshman year. All of them. And under instructor, a name. E. Stray. And below that, something new. Lesson plan, incomplete. Reinitiate cycle. I stared at it for hours. I didn't eat, didn't sleep, didn't move. The next night, the dreams came back. But now, they weren't just dreams. I felt them, like I was really there. I could smell the varnish on the desks. Feel the chalk dust under my fingernails. I wasn't just dreaming the school, I was attending it. Each night, I was in a different class. Math with a woman who didn't blink. History with a man who wrote dates on the board that hadn't happened yet. Science with Eleanor, always with Eleanor, and every time, she would ask us to recite something I never remembered learning. Who you were is who you are. Who you are is who you'll be. And you must remember to forget. The others were there too. Tony, sitting in the back, quiet, pale. Gray, scribbling nonsense in a notebook he refused to share. Delaney, crying silently but never speaking. Marcus, nodding off between every class. And Steph, sitting beside me, eyes blank, mouthing the phrase along with the rest of them. Each night I woke up more tired. Each morning, the memories of the dreams lingered longer. Eventually, I stopped dreaming. Or maybe I started living the dream. Because things began to change in the real world. One day I drove past Willow Creek High, and the sign out front didn't say Willow Creek anymore. It said, Winslow Academy, Est, 1899. I stopped the car, took a photo. That photo disappeared the moment I opened my gallery. My yearbook? The cover changed. The crest on the front now bore the letters WA. Inside, the names were the same, but the teachers weren't. And in the faculty, on the bottom row, there she was. Eleanor Stray. I closed the book, tossed it in the closet, sat in the dark for an hour. That night, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. A child's voice answered. Class is starting soon, it said. Are you ready for your final lesson? The line went dead. I started seeing reflections again. Not just in mirrors, windows, puddles, computer screens. Always the same classroom. My desk. A chalkboard with the date. Monday, September 3, 1979. But that date never changed. No matter what day it was outside. That date had become a loop, etched into my mind like an alarm that never turned off. Then one night, I walked past a mirror in my hallway, and I wasn't in it. My reflection was delayed. It looked like me, moved like me, but it was off by a beat. Like someone watching and waiting to copy my moves. I stood still. The reflection smiled. I didn't. I punched the mirror. It cracked. And behind the cracks, I swear, I saw a hallway. A different one. Fluorescent lighting, green linoleum floor, rows of lockers. The smell of sharpened pencils and bleach. And on the wall, a fire alarm. With a sticker beneath it that read, "Only pull when cycle ends." The next day, Marcus showed up at my door. He looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. "I saw her," he said. "Not in a dream. In town." "Eleanor?" He nodded. "She was outside the library. She was wearing the same outfit from the photo. Same shoes. Same everything. And, Jared, she didn't look a day older than 40. That's impossible." She looked at me, like she knew me, like she owned me. We sat in silence. Then he handed me something. A pass. A yellowed hall pass. It had my name on it. And the date, September 3, 1979. Stamped. In red ink. "I found it in my mailbox," Marcus whispered. "No envelope. Just that." I didn't know what to say. Then he added something that froze my blood. "Jared, on the back, it says I'm late for third period." I turned the pass over in my hands, careful like it might burn me. The handwriting was clean, mechanical, almost too neat, like something printed by a typewriter that somehow still had a soul. My name, the date, third period, and one more thing, in cursive at the bottom. "Do not miss attendance." That night, I didn't try to sleep. I didn't bother pretending I was safe. I knew what was coming. At exactly 3:33 a.m., my bedroom door creaked open on its own. It was dark, no wind, no movement, but I could hear it. A bell, faint, distant, muted like it was ringing through a wall of dirt and time. I stepped into the hallway. No lights, no sounds, but the air smelled sweet. Pencil shavings, old paper, chalk dust, and that's when I saw it. At the end of my hallway, past the linen closet, past the bathroom I'd used 1,000 times since I was a kid, there was a door. Not one that had ever been there before. A wooden door, with a brass handle, and etched into the top in crooked, scorched lettering. Room 3B. I stepped forward like I was underwater. Every cell in my body screamed to run. But something stronger pulled me forward. Not curiosity, not fear, recognition. The handle was cold, not metal cold, old. Like it had waited for me. Like it had only ever fit my hand. I opened the door, and stepped into the classroom. It was exactly the same as in the dreams. The same rows, same chalkboard, same humming fluorescent lights above. The air was still, my footsteps didn't echo. There were no students, just desks. And at the front, a single figure, turned toward the board. Writing with slow, deliberate motion. She stopped, turned, and smiled. "Mr. Stokes," she said. "You're late." I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. She beckoned me with a piece of chalk. "Since you're the only one here today, I suppose we'll begin with review." She walked toward the board and underlined the words already written there. "Who you were, who you are, who you'll be." Then she turned to me, eyes calm. Knowing. "Do you remember yet?" "No," I whispered. She stepped closer. The air around her shifted. Like heat off asphalt. Her eyes shimmered. "Then let's begin again." I blinked. And the room was full. All the desks, occupied. Gray, Delaney, Marcus, Steph, even Tony. All of them, silent, still, looking forward like obedient children. No one looked at me. And in the seat directly in front of me, a younger version. 9, maybe 10. Same slouch. Same birthmark behind the left ear. He turned around, smiled. "You'll get it right this time," he whispered. The bell rang, and I woke up, in my bed, sweating, shaking. But something was wrong. The light was different. I checked my phone. No signal. Date, September 3, 1979. I blinked, rubbed my eyes. It didn't change. I opened the closet. My clothes were gone, replaced with stiff, scratchy slacks. Button-up shirts. A windbreaker with an old Winslow crest. I ran to the window. It wasn't my neighborhood. It was a row of low brick buildings, a chain link fence, a faded stop for children sign. And in the middle of the cul-de-sac, Steph, waving, wearing a school uniform, smiling like she'd never left. I staggered back from the window. What was happening? What was I in? A memory? A loop? A second life? The hallway door creaked again. A voice from beyond it, calm and rhythmic. Class is starting. Attendance is mandatory. I grabbed my phone. No apps. No messages. Just one note in the memo section. You can leave when you pass. Pass what? I was still holding the hall pass. And now, on the back, in fresh ink. Welcome back. Third period is history. I looked into the mirror in the hallway. And saw the classroom again. But this time, every desk had a nameplate. Mine said, repeat number 4. I didn't go to school that day. At least, I don't think I did. It was hard to tell what was dream and what wasn't anymore. I wandered the halls of that not my house in that not my town, feeling like I was waiting for a scene to start that had already ended. Or never began. Everything around me was quiet. But it wasn't peaceful quiet. It was exam silence, that thick, weighted hush before someone turns over the first page of a test. Like the world itself was holding its breath, waiting to see what I'd do next. I found Marcus sitting on a curb near the playground, flipping through an empty notebook. When I sat beside him, he didn't look up. You figured it out yet? He asked. I don't think there's anything to figure out. He nodded slowly, almost like he agreed. Or gave up. I think this is what she wanted, he said. Who? But I already knew. We both turned at the same time. There she was, on the swings. Eleanor, rocking slowly, back and forth, her hair braided down one side. A book in her lap. Not watching us, just waiting. I think we were always meant to come back, I said quietly. Marcus didn't respond. We sat like that for a long time. Eventually, the bell rang. Low, distant, the same as always. I stood up. He didn't. Are you coming? He shook his head. I failed too many times. I nodded, walked away, back toward the school, toward room 3B, and as I opened the door, everything went still again. The same old classroom, same air, same desk, and on the chalkboard, one last message. You're almost ready. No signature, just chalk dust, hanging in the beam of light that sliced through the window. I sat, and waited, because maybe this time, I'd pass. Maybe this time, I'd remember. Maybe this time, I wouldn't be the student. Maybe this time, I'd be the teacher.